Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And I just actually got done listening in on the Verizon earnings call. I sat through the prepared remarks, the Q&A, some interesting information. And I pulled up this specific article. We saw, you guys who watched the video this morning, you saw the numbers already. They had great growth for the fourth quarter. It was like 426,000 ads on the consumer, which is great. Spent a lot of acquisition costs on getting those customers, but it led to overall growth. The business segment, they grew like 154,000 or so. FWA was great. They consistently grow that sector like every quarter. Like it's like between 350, 400,000. There's a little fluctuation here and there, but it's always consistently has been around that mark, right? It's not like one quarter it's 200,000, the next it's 300,000, right? It's literally between 350 and 400,000 pretty much every quarter consistently, which is great. So that was great. Service revenue up, cash flow, free cash flow with the sale of Vertical Bridge. The tower sites came in at 19.8 billion, so they got some additional free cash flow at the towards the end of the year that they included, which they won't get this year. That's why the free cash flow guidance is a bit lower for 2025, but still 17.5 to between 17.5 to 18.5 billion. Still plenty of free cash flow that they're making. But what I want to shift towards is this AI story. This is a massive one that they discussed during the call. They gave a very comprehensive prepared remark on this AI story. So T-Mobile discussed this with they're partnering with NVIDIA, Ericsson, Nokia, everybody. Verizon is kind of sticking to what they already have. So Verizon unveils AI strategy to power next gen AI demands. So this is a very, very, very interesting one. So Verizon introduces an expanded AI strategy built for hyperscalers, cloud providers, and global enterprises. So they're going big with this one. Verizon AI Connect is what they're going to call it, is a strategy and suite of products and solutions designed to manage AI resource intensive workloads at scale. So this is going to require massive capacity. Google Cloud and Meta are among early adopters of Verizon solutions. So they already have business partners that are partnering for this. Just to give you some tidbits from the earnings call, a lot of these answers were kind of long and drawn out during the Q&A. Verizon has 200 acres of land ready to build data centers for this. They can offer lit and they can offer dark fiber. They can bundle the services. However businesses want to be served in this next generation, Verizon can provide it with already existing assets that might have to get modernized better in some instances, but Verizon's ready now, right? T-Mobile is starting to make investments towards that, and their investments will be substantial. But what Verizon is owning and operating today, what they can put in the ground, like just as an example, T-Mobile would not be able today to partner with Google Cloud and Meta for this type of solution. They just would not be able to. Right, that's just as an example, because they don't own and operate any of their own fiber. Right, Verizon can literally bundle lit and dark fiber, and they own and operate. They operate the edge, everything they own and operate. Right, there's some percentage where they're still third party. But across most of the tier 1 markets, like the top 76, Verizon has that one fiber. And it's a massive undertaking that Verizon is doing. This is probably bigger than most of you on this video are going to realize how big this is, to have 200 acres of land ready to go, permits already approved. Verizon is making a big step in that AI. I feel, in my view, this is even bigger than what T-Mobile has got planned with this whole AI RAN and stuff going on with NVIDIA. This right here is going to lead to massive opportunities on revenue, right? These business partners globally, I mean, Verizon is going to make a ton of money off this. So I wanted to touch on that for a little bit. I'll leave this article in the description so you guys can check it out. There's percentages and future guidance on this thing. Another thing that they did talk about: tier one, tier two, tier three markets. For those of you who are not, in the know what that means. So tier one markets are the metros. The tier two markets and tier three, you're stepping out into the suburban rural environment. So the 90% mark of the planned sites having C-band, Verizon is well on their way of doing that inside of 2025. So the 17.5 to 18.5 billion capex envelope is plenty to get to that 90% number. That's going to be a massive step in the right direction for the business. Tier one markets, they saw a lot of new growth, much better than in previous years. As we've seen in the numbers, 426,000 new consumer ads. Also, churn is starting to get even better in the tier one markets where C-band has been substantially scaled, as they discussed before. They doubled down on that again in this call. And now they're starting to build out more and more C-band in the tier two and the tier three markets. So that's additional scale that they're gaining with mid-band. They did say the density profile is different in those markets. That's why it's taken a little bit longer to gain that scale. They have to build out sites, macros to fill in and allow the C-band to reach to the population. But they'll get there. They'll get there inside of this year. And that just means more competition. FWA is a big deal here, especially in tier two, tier three, where options are far and few in between. Verizon is stepping in as another big option for that consumer in those markets, and it's a big deal, right? And we got to discuss this. I think Verizon is heading down a very, very strong path. This is something T-Mobile is going to have to keep an eye out on, big time. Verizon is confident. I listened to Hans, I listened to Sampath, I listened to Kyle. They are very confident in their current playbook. And I think it's a big problem for T-Mobile and even AT&T, right? T-Mobile more so because they are that big grower. They want to grow. They are literally based on growth. So if they have the slightest slowdown, their stock's going to feel it, right? They're going to feel that big time. AT&T, not so much, right? AT&T, they can still have a quarter where they're maybe not as didn't have as much growth, right? But T-Mobile is really reliant on that growth. And I think Verizon is on the path where they're starting to cut into that. Even on FWA, they're going to start cutting into that. And that leads me to my next topic. The MDU units are going to start being deployed this year, right? FWA solutions for multi-dwelling units. That's another big deal. That's more opportunity for Verizon to gain new customers. That's why I think the 8 to 9 million FWA guidance Verizon gave is like a super under promise, over deliver situation. They can probably get to 8 to 9 million just off of the pure C-band capacity. The solutions that they're deploying for multi-dwelling units, that's like a whole separate thing on its own. Like, we're talking like millimeter wave type of solutions being deployed at those multi-dwelling units. So Verizon is on a great, strong, capacitive path, and it's gonna show, right? So T-Mobile, I think they have to start changing their attitude a bit, right, on stuff that they've done and that they've talked about, right? Because Verizon's playbook is really working. The 6 months ago, Verizon did a brand refresh, and according to them, that's starting to really resonate and work even bigger than they anticipated. So I'm not saying they're going to have all these blowout crazy quarters, but their financial balance sheet is strong, right? It's getting stronger, and they're ready to present anyone with any type of solution. They even brought up the Brightspeed deal, the offloading those DSL customers onto their FWA network. They said it's not a problem. So that lets me know that the network is not even breaking a sweat as it comes to capacity. And if it does, again, they have capital ready to be deployed for more capacity. So it's a great model, in my opinion, when it comes to FWA and the future of it for Verizon. I feel just a bit more confident in Verizon and their solutions and what they're doing versus T-Mobile, right? T-Mobile is using that extra capacity model. I think it works. I use it myself, but I think that really has its limitations, right? Verizon is really getting after it with these millimeter wave solutions and building a very dense C-band grid. They even discussed like bigger businesses are starting to get more comfortable using FWA as their main solution, as their primary. They said now they have big banks, big retailers that are connected to FWA, not fiber, not wireline. It's FWA that they're using. So that is a really, really, really big deal, that they can now get some word of mouth references from other CIOs and them using that as the primary solutions. And I'm not saying that that's not happening with T-Mobile, but Verizon is willing to build infrastructure closer to close some of those deals. Like, hey, yes, we will put a millimeter wave node within range and connect point to point. T-Mobile is not willing to do that today. They've stressed that publicly, that they are going to run with 12 million by 2028 using the existing spectrum. And that might include C-band and some other stuff, right? Might be some millimeter wave in there. They are testing that. But they have no capital envelope that tells us, hey, we are going to invest specifically for FWA. With Verizon, they made it publicly clear that they are willing to invest into FWA with capital. So it's an interesting time, right? I know I talked about Verizon in a more negative light the past few years because they weren't really doing much. And they even discussed like 2023, those were rough years for Verizon. But now it's really a big turnaround for the company. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how it turns out. They did talk about the price increase. They don't anticipate any slowdown. They didn't talk about a churn bubble, so I guess they are fine with where they're at with that. They also said they expect postpaid growth to be bigger in 2025 than 2024. So they are heading down a very positive path. If they can maintain on the same growth trajectory across all sections. It's not just postpaid, it's business, it's FWA, it's prepaid, the value segment. They are growing in a very, very strong light. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.